Hello. Welcome back. Corey Hughes Bloody History. We're going to continue. We're going to pick up right from where we left off yesterday. We are going over Thomas Beckham and his Clay Shaw trial, grand jury stuff, not trial stuff, grand jury testimony. So we're just going to pick right up. Did you ever use the title Doctor of Divinity after your name? I do have a Doctor of Divinity, right. What school did you attend to obtain that? You are wrong there. Gentlemen, the highest degree you can get is a Master of Divinity, which is the MDiv, or the Masters of Theology. The only other degree granted to a minister, which is granted in a more or less honorary capacity as a Doctor of Divinity. You don't go to no school for a Doctor of Divinity. There is no school that teaches that. The highest is a Masters of Divinity. The rest is a DD. It was granted by the National Association that I have a DD, the American Ecumenical Council granted me a Doctor of Divinity. Where are these schools located? One is located in Chicago, Illinois. Which one? Now let me think. The National Spiritual Society is in Chicago. The Ecumenical Society, how do you say it? It's in Cleveland, Ohio. I can get the exact name for you. Notice that once again he is using the epitome of selective memory here. Right? Selective memory. I think so. I can't remember. Like, these guys are fucking unbelievable, really. Now let me think. The National Spiritual Society is in Chicago. The Ecumenical Society, how do you say it? It's in Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio. What else pops up in the assassination in Cleveland, Ohio? I can get the exact name for you. Can you think of the name of the college where you got it? Yes, that was the ecumenical, something with an A before it. A Latin word meaning education or something. I don't know the exact word. Ecumenical Divinity Institute. And you got your Doctor of Divinity from there? Right, and I got the Doctor of Divinity from the National Spiritual Aid Association, too. The first one is in which city? That's in Chicago. And the second one? It's in Cleveland. Are you aware that David Ferry is from that city? Which one? From where? Didn't you just name a city? Well, there are two of them. Didn't you just say Cleveland, Ohio? Yes, sir. And I said Chicago. You said Cleveland, Ohio, and I asked you if you were aware that David Ferry was from Cleveland, Ohio. I don't know where David Ferry is from. Are you trying to fence with me? No, I am not. You answer the question and answer them as directly as possible. Do you understand that? Yes. Have you ever heard of Reverend Brochures? Can I stand on Fifth Amendment on all of them from here on without being in contempt of court? On the Fifth Amendment? Without being in contempt. Why do you take the Fifth Amendment on that point? Sir, I think you're going to ask me something that I can't answer in the right way. I wasn't trying to be cute with you. You said a city. I named two cities. Notice he's going back to a previous question. He's not addressing the most recent question about Reverend Brochures. I'm asking you about another subject now. Do you know a Reverend Brochures of the Universal Life Church? Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't listen to my 2 or 3 shows on Reverend Raymond Brochures, I highly advise you go back and search for those and listen to them. Very, very important stuff. I belong to the Universal Life Church. What's his name? Do you know a Reverend Brochure? Is it got a Ray or something in front of it? Just answer the question. I don't know. I really don't. Well, he just asked him if it had a Ray or something in front of it, so obviously he does know him, right? Where do you get your present ordination in the Universal Life Church? My present ordination? Whatever you have. Modesto, California. It's 1766 Poland Road. Do you go there or get it in the mail? No, not in the mail. I got it through a minister of the church, which is Dr. Chrisman. Dr. Chrisman obtained it for you. Yes, sir. Is he in that same church? Yes, he is bishop for the state of Washington. For the Universal Life Church? Right. So we can pretty much write off the Universal Life Church as a CIA enterprise. Have you ever been to the post office building at Lafayette Square? Here? Yes. Yes. Have you ever been there in 62 or 63? I think those years I had a post office box there. Okay, so this is very important because the post office building at Lafayette Square is notoriously known for catering to many of the intelligence officers who were there, FBI agents. It was a federal building, right? So we've already established that Lee Harvey Oswald had a box there that's never mentioned in any of the official literature. We know that Kerry Thornley had a box there, and now we're finding out that Thomas Beckham had a box there. It seems to me that this P.O. box location is a drop-off point or someplace they could do kind of dead drops. I think those years I had a post office box there. Did you ever have occasion to go in the office of Guy Bannister on Lafayette Street across the street? Yes, a lot of times. Would you tell us why you went there a lot of times? Tagged along with Jack Martin. Did you ever go there without Jack Martin? Oh, yes. On what occasions did you go there without Jack Martin? Going in to talk to Guy, friendly visits, dropping in, using it as a hangout. You know that Guy was a former head of the Chicago office of the FBI. Are you aware of that? I don't know. He was former FBI. Are you aware of the fact that in 62 or 63 he was doing work for the Central Intelligence Agency for the U.S. government? No, I don't. What did you talk to him about? I just went in and talked to the man on different occasions. About what? What did you talk about? Can I say something and not make you mad now? Do I have to bring up everything I had to say to him? I mean, for the whole conversation? Just answer my question. What did you talk to him about? Different things, friendly visits, talking about Mr. Martin. Did you ever talk to him about anything connected with the Central Intelligence Agency? I'd rather stand the Fifth Amendment on that one. All right, so let me just take a screenshot of this, because that's super fucking important, wouldn't you say? He's asking him, did you ever talk to him about anything connected with the Central Intelligence Agency? And he said, I'd rather stand on the Fifth Amendment on that one. Okay, what does that mean? Of course he did. Of course he was talking to Guy Bannister about CIA stuff. Is it your position that if you answer that question, it will incriminate you? I think so, yes, sir. Would you go stand outside for a minute? Yes, sir. And then he exits. Mr. Beckham re-enters. There's no record of what was said in the courtroom. Mr. Burns says, you realize that you are still under oath and you are sworn to tell the truth. When you stepped outside this room, did you tell anybody what you were asked? No. Did you discuss the nature of the question with Mr. Alcock? With anybody else? No. Who was the other gentleman standing outside? That's Mr. Thompson. Did you discuss the matter with him or the question with him? No, I did not. He said, when will you go for lunch and how long will you be? And the deputy said, if they keep you here until 12 o'clock, you stay until 12 o'clock. Go ask him. So they haven't clarified this yet, but Mr. Thompson is present while Thomas Beckham is giving his grand jury testimony. Mr. Thompson, I'm now 100% sure it's Roswell Thompson. And Roswell Thompson most certainly works for the fucking CIA. And Thomas Beckham says that he's known Mr. Thompson since he was a kid. So it's obviously Roswell Thompson who got Thomas Beckham into the CIA. So, Tony, if you'll look for any additional information on Mr. Roswell Thompson, we can pretty much close the book on him pretty soon. So next, don't tell me what to ask. You misunderstood something when you came in here. You answer the questions and specifically the questions. Now, are you aware that proceedings of the grand jury are secret and any questions they ask you can't tell anyone outside this room? Yes. I want to impress on you that at this time I admonish you that this matter is covered by Article 434 of the Louisiana Code of Criminal Procedure, and you may not discuss directly or indirectly any information you obtain from this grand jury room. Now, do you understand that? Yes. So there will be no doubt in your mind I'm going to read you the statute. So you can't say later you didn't know what the statute contained. And he reads in the statute. And I admonish you to abide by the statute. Can I employ an attorney after this? I can't talk to him, or can I, as a witness? Not unless you are indicted. Oh. So if you are not indicted, you can't talk to anybody. That means your brothers, your family, anybody. And the juror says, none of us in this room. That applies to us also. Mr. Alcock says, now, did you understand the last question addressed to you by Mr. Garrison? No. Mr. Garrison to the stenographer, will you read the last question to him again? Did you talk to Mr. Bannister about anything connected with the Central Intelligence Agency? His answer is, not that I personally know of. In that event, why did you take the Fifth Amendment a few minutes ago? Because I did not understand the question. Did you ever work as an employee directly or indirectly for the Central Intelligence Agency? I worked for Mr. Bannister, and if Mr. Bannister worked for the Central Intelligence Agency, then I probably worked for them. I don't know. In the course of working for Mr. Bannister, did you do any work which could have been work for the Central Intelligence Agency? I can't answer you that because I don't know. Did you do any work in the course of working for Mr. Bannister, which in your judgment could have been work for the Central Intelligence Agency? I don't know, because I don't know what the Central Intelligence Agency might have been wanting. We might be able to help you. Suppose you tell us what kind of work you did for him, and then we can let you know what kind of work you did for Mr. Bannister. Well, Mr. Bannister, I worked at what you call a peace offering, not a direct salary. Mr. Bannister gave me no money. I helped him on a domestic, and I brought him information on several things. What kind of information did you bring him? Information he wanted on certain things he would send me out on. What type of information? I brought him information on Mr. Martin, which seemed to have no confidence in whatsoever. Mr. Burns asks, a while ago when Mr. Garrison asked you if you ever went to Mr. Bannister's office, you said yes. You remember that? Oh, yes. And he asked you why you went. You remember asking him why you went? Yes. And do you remember telling him just to be along with Jack Martin? Do you remember telling him that? Yes, I did. And then when he pushed you further for any other reason, you said for a social visit. You remember that? Well, it was strictly, but not really, as now you're telling the grand jury that you worked for Mr. Bannister, that you received remuneration, or it's remuneration for information received. There was an exchange. Is that correct? No. Well, did you work for Mr. Bannister? I don't know if you could really call it working for him. Did he pay you for information? He gave me what he called it a peace offering. That's P-I-E-C-E offering. Did he give you money in exchange for information? No, not in exchange. I didn't go here and say, okay, here, and he would give me $10 or $50. No. If I would be in Mr. Bannister's office, I did it more as a favor to him than anything else. You did not do it in exchange? No. Didn't you just tell this grand jury a minute ago that he gave you a peace offering in exchange for that? Isn't that your word? No, sir, it is not. Didn't you say he gave you a peace offering for information? Mr. Bannister would give me money every now and then, but not for information. You didn't say for information a while ago. I read it back. Or he says, read it back. Mr. Garrison to the stenographer, would you please read that back? Reading, I worked for Mr. Bannister. I worked for Mr. Bannister. You said that, didn't you? It's not true, is it? What? That you worked for Mr. Bannister. Can I say something? Yes, you can say whether it's true or not that you worked for Mr. Bannister. Let me explain it to you. You can answer yes and then explain it. I don't know. You don't know whether that statement you made is true or not. Can I explain it my way and then you can understand it? Well, you can answer yes or no and then you can explain it. I don't know. You don't know whether the statement is true. Oh, that statement. Right. Well, oh my God, can you see how this is like fucking Who's on First? This is pure anti-interrogation training on behalf of Mr. Beckham, which tells me he was pretty well entrenched with the CIA. How do you explain you're working for Mr. Bannister when you told Mr. Garrison earlier that the only reason you went in was to be with Jack Martin? We're talking about different occasions. That's right, and I have caught you in both of those occasions. Can I say something? I knew Guy Bannister through Jack Martin. Now this will clarify it for you. Now this is all my occasions. You have to put them all together. Jack Martin introduced me to. Just answer this question. Did you go to Guy Bannister's office for any reason at all other than 1, to accompany Jack Martin, and 2, social visits to pass the time of day? I went on both social visits. No, you answer this question. Yes, I went on both. No, you didn't listen to the question. Now, listen to this question. Did you go to Mr. Bannister's office for any reason other than just to be with Mr. Jack Martin? That's number 1. And number 2 is just social visits to pass the time of day. Did you go for any other reason, a third reason, or a fourth reason, or any other reason? Now answer the question. Here is how it is, sir. Did you go for any other reason other than those 2 reasons? Well, you let me tell it is the way You may answer yes or no to the question. You can say yes, no, or I don't know. Those are the options. I don't know. Then why did you tell Mr. Garrison a while ago? Those were the only reasons you went to the office if you don't know. Let me say this. Let me say it this way. Would you listen? Can you explain why you told Mr. Garrison those were the only 2 reasons why you went to the office? I told him that the 2 reasons were, and I am so confused now, I don't know what I am saying. That's great. Since you are confused, let's go to a matter in which you are not confused. Now, Mr. Garrison asked you a question before you left the room, and the question was, when you were in Mr. Bannister's office, did you discuss with him anything relative to the Central Intelligence Agency? That was the gist of the question, and you took the Fifth Amendment, saying the answer would incriminate you, and you came back in and stated that you misunderstood the question. Now I want you to tell me right now, how did you understand the question when you took the Fifth Amendment? What did you think the question was? Let me say this. I thought you asked me. No, you didn't think I asked you. You thought Mr. Garrison asked you. What did you think the question was? I thought Mr. Garrison asked me the question that if I had known Mr. Bannister had worked for the CIA, I don't know. If I could have known, I really don't know. That's what you thought Mr. Garrison asked you when you stepped outside. Yes. And you said I take the Fifth Amendment. Yes, because I don't really know. And if I say I don't really know, you say give me yes or no. Mr. Garrison, Mr. Beckham, before we get too far, did I not ask you if you had discussed anything about the CIA with Mr. Bannister? I don't know. I don't really know. If it's on there, you did. It's on there. Is it on? That is what I asked you. Then you took the Fifth Amendment. Mr. Burns is now asking you why you took the Fifth Amendment. Because I didn't understand the question. But you say you thought the question was, you thought Mr. Garrison asked you, you did know of any CIA activities of Mr. Guy Bannister. And you thought that would incriminate you. No, but I thought if I said no, and y'all said, well, don't you think this is that, you didn't think the question you had in mind would incriminate you, but you're telling the jury you thought it would. If I answered it the way I thought it would have been, and you would have said, well, do you think it's what's important to him is the CIA? I don't know what's important or not important to the CIA. That is the point, Mr. Beckham, and I want you to see this now that it's been brought out. That's exactly the point of this question. You are trying to anticipate questions. You are trying to answer questions that are not asked. I don't want you all to charge me with anything I didn't do. Why don't you kindly answer the questions that you are asked? All right. Did Mr. Bannister ever in your conversations mention the CIA? I don't know, really. I don't. You don't recall, or are you positively saying he did not? I don't really recall. Really. He might have. I don't recall. Is it possible that he did mention the Central Intelligence Agency? Yes. Have you ever met Kerry Thornley? And here we go. This is what I've been waiting for. Have you ever met Kerry Thornley? Not that I know of. If you show me pictures, I might remember people. But names? The juror asked, earlier you mentioned that Mr. Bannister wanted you to keep your eyes and ears open. For what? Well, now I can say it my way, all right? It was a friendship between me and Mr. Bannister, and then he says to me on several occasions, he would say, Tom, I don't understand Jack Martin. I said, what do you mean? And he said, I don't know, something is going on. So you see, it was really a friendship. I felt sorry for him. What did he want you to keep your eyes and ears open for? I don't know. You must have known. You said all right. Sure, I said all right. But what were you to keep your eyes and ears open for? I don't know. It had to be something direct. That is the way he put it, and that is the way it was. Did he question you about Jack Martin? Occasionally. Let me put it this way. Like he told me to keep an eye on Jack. He said, keep your eyes and ears open. That's the way he said it. So then about a week or two, I played detective on Jack Martin, walking around and following Jack Martin. And what would you report to Mr. Bannister? For a couple of days there, I didn't see Mr. Bannister. What would you say when you got back to him? About a week later, after he told me this, Mr. Bannister, I went to his office, and he had a woman there typing. And I said I could see Mr. Bannister. She said, yes. I went in, and he said, hi. Just a friendly visit there again. So he said to me, how are things going? And I said, hey, did you know that Jack was out in front of your place? And do you know that he is friendly with the man up in the bar? And I said, they sat out in front of your place in a car one night. He said, he did. Did he mess around the door? I said, no, they just sat out there. I said, Jack stood about 30 minutes licking a postage stamp on a letter. Then he proceeded across the street and went and talked to a man and stood in front of the door. He talked to a man in the bar. You see, there is a bar on this side. Who was this man in the bar? I don't know, but something I remember is the fact that you could check it, that this man in the bar had some relation of his, or he had a criminal record or a charge against him for something. Bannister did? No, the man in the bar. And Jack was doing something that helped this man or something who had this criminal charge against him. Mr. Burns asked, Mr. Beckham, this relationship you had with Guy Bannister, when you were furnishing him information, he was giving you money. Do you understand the relationship I'm talking about? I didn't have that type of relationship. You were furnishing him information. On that, yes, he was giving you money. No, he would say, look, he was giving you money or not. He gave me spending money. I was never on salary for Mr. Bannister. Was it spending money? That's right. He gave you money. Was it for your disposal? Well, like he would send me to the restaurant to get a cup of coffee or a Coke and bring back the change, and he would say, keep it. And I know it's costing you money coming down here, so here's $1 or $5, in that manner. What was the most you got for information that you brought back to him? The most? Let me see. I think it was about $20 one time. This is not money for you to keep for yourself? Yes. Why did you call it a peace offering? Well, I will tell you where the word peace offering came from. A reporter asked me if I ever worked for Mr. Bannister, and I said no. I said I was friends with him. I helped him out on several occasions. He had given me spending money. If he wanted information or such, I would get it from him. And on one occasion, he had a domestic case up on Ursuline or something. He wanted some information, and he said, kid, would you mind hopping a bus and running out there? And I said, sure, you see. Well, let's get back to why you called it a peace offering. That's P-I-E-C-E offering. Then this report said, well, he really didn't pay you, did he? And I said, no. He said, what did he give you? He said he gave you a piecemeal. That's how he said it. Do you know what a piecemeal means? No. Paid by the piece, by the performance. When you work in a mill, you make a shirt, you're paid by 10 shirts or 10 pay jobs. Well, this reporter said you were not really paid. You were paid by piecemeal. That's what he called it. In other words, you were paid for what you performed. No, I was not paid for what I performed, no. In relationship to what you performed. No, sir. Then it wasn't piecemeal then. Whatever you call it, I don't know what this actual word was. You worked for him. You gave him information. He gave you money. Did he give you the money before you gave him the information? Mr. Bannister had given me money before. He just handed it to me. When did he start giving you money? Well, one day Jack and I were in there, and this lady, and he said, run to the corner and get some pop, and so he gave me a couple of bucks, and that's what I did. I run, and that's what I did for him. Mr. Garrison asks, are you suggesting that you did just little things for him? No, sir. He never really came out and said, do this. Well, let's just get a little more specific. Have you ever done anything that related in any way to Cuba and Cuban activities of any kind? Can I answer you in the way this came about? Why can't you just say yes or no and then explain it? I don't know. You don't? Now I would like to have your explanation of that. One day, Jack knew a guy by the name of Sergia Arcacha and another guy by the name of Lucius Rebel or something like that. Louis Rebel. Does he have a laundry here? Yes. Yes, that's him. And then there's this guy who has a laundry here in town. And one day, Jack introduced me to Sergio Arcacha. Isn't he the one with the mustache, the younger one? He has a mustache. The younger one is Carlos Quiroga. Well, that couldn't have been the guy. Anyway, Jack introduced me to one of them, the younger guy first. And we met another private detective up in the Père Marquette building. There is a private detective up there, a big, tall guy. What was his name? He was a pilot. I don't know what his name was. About your height. David Ferry? No, it wasn't Ferry. About your height. He was in the Père Marquette building. I couldn't tell you what he looked like. Then what happened? We went inside and there was a little restaurant or something, if I remember, a barber shop in the Père Marquette building. And we went in and he had a sandwich or something. And we were waiting for this young guy. And he showed up and this young Spanish guy had a briefcase in his hand. Carlos Quiroga? I don't know. Well, anyway, he showed up. Yes, he showed up. He got on one side of me, and I was on the side. Anyway, he said we got to talking, and one thing led to another, and he told Jack that he was trying to raise $2 million, and I said, $2 million? Holy smoke, what do you need with $2 million? And he said he was going to put it in Disneyland in Brazil. Let's not get into too much detail. Well, I'm going to tell you how it came about. Anyway, this guy had this plan. He was going to put a Disneyland in Brazil, and it was going to be in the shape of Brazil, and this was what he wanted to do, and then got to talking, and I said, you Spanish? And he said, yes. So anyway, either he or Jack introduced me to this guy who has the laundry, and who has the laundry. He had a house, if I'm not mistaken, on Elysian Fields or the lakefront somewhere. Because I went out to the house one night, and he told me that they were trying to raise money for the Cuban army for the invasion. Or something. I don't even remember how it came about, and I said I can help you. I will help you in any way. And he said yes. The CIA was training troops at the naval station or something. That's what they said. Who is they? This guy, the older one. Rebel, Louis Rebel? Yes, married, and his wife came over from Cuba, something. He was the head of the laundry. How about Frank Bartz? Was he one of them? I don't know what he looks like. I have seen his picture. Hey, Tony, pull up some basics on Frank Bartz, please. I don't know what he looks like. I have seen this picture. They have told you about the CIA training troops. First, they sat down. I don't remember who in the heck I went over there with. It was some young guy. Well, they sat down and we talked about, and they told us about TV. They stand up. They're stand-up men and shoot so many in Cuba. And you said you wanted to help. Did you help? I said it is a shame to do somebody like that. Yes, I said, yes, I will help you in any way I can. I said, what can I do? And he said, I don't know. Then something came up. I have forgotten what it was. Anyway, he says I will have to be leaving, and his wife was bragging about coming over with $10,000 inside her purse from Cuba. And he told her, and he told about how the sugar mills and how they lost. Sears Roebuck lost a big store there. Did you help them? I said, I will help you in any way I could. I said, why don't you start a drive if you need money, you see? I said, start a drive and raise funds if this man is a communist. People fight against communism. And he says, what would you suggest? And I said, I would put out cans, a small group of tin cans. And he said, where we would get them. And I said, I don't know, but I will check around and ask. So I checked a couple of people, and I said, people I knew, and they said, Continental Can Company has slotted cans. So I told him to contact Continental Can. You notice, I need to pause right here. You notice how he's just talking about a bunch of irrelevant bullshit, right? He's taking the whole conversation and he's scrambling the mind of the jury who can't follow, who doesn't have a fucking clue what he's talking about, right? And they're going to completely forget the line of questioning that Garrison had brought up before. That's what he's doing here, okay? I said if you had 10,000 cans, you see, these 10,000 cans, if you only got $1 a piece, that's $10,000. So when did I see him again? I saw the young one again, and he was asking me, could I introduce him to anyone to raise funds for the Disneyland thing? I didn't see him anymore after that, except one time Jack was talking about a ship, a German ship here that was going to Cuba. You see, to buy something to take to Germany or deliver to Cuba, vice versa. I don't remember how he said it. He said he wished there was a way to stop the ship. And I said, there has to be a way. He said, there are narcotics aboard that ship. And I said, if someone would tip off the FBI about that, they would stop the ship. I said, you are palsy with Walsey with an FBI agent, a young guy here in the federal building or something, a young federal agent Jack was friends with. I said, why don't you just tell him about it? That's the last I heard from Jack. And the next couple of days in the newspaper said German ship en route to Cuba or something, tied up for investigation, but he got it tied up, and I'm sure it was Jack. Was this your last activity in regard to any Cuban endeavor? That was it. Your mission had nothing to do with Cuba? No, sir. No, sir. It had nothing. You see, United Catholic Mission Fathers newspapers said it meant something else. Universal United Cubans or something. Mission Forces, something like that. So notice he's completely just taken them off their train of thought into a whole new line of questioning. Juror asks, where did you get the money to start the mission? No money in it. Well, you had to pay for the building. No, the building was free, and I have yet to pay for the sign over it. Mr. Beckham, are those medical cufflinks you have on there? Well, to give you an idea, I believe in nature orthopy, phonetic spelling. What does that mean? Nature orthopy is the belief of curing by nature cure, and this can mean anything. In other words, it is a metal for healing, like osteology. They believe in manipulation. I believe in nature healing. You say that you kept giving Jack Martin money, and where did you get the money to give to Jack Martin? And Guy Bannister was giving you money. No. Jack Martin, see, I knew Jack Martin for a long time, since I was 14 or 15 years old. During all this time, he had country shows, music shows. Where did you get money to give to Jack Martin? From my family. And then Jack, now I know he took this money, he and this guy, Grady Durham. See, I had a relationship with Jack then. When did I see Jack again? Maybe 6 months. I would see him at intervals. We had been friends all my life. You'd been friends with him all your life, and then you turned around and was spying on him. One thing that made me disappointed with him was the fact that Jack's wife says you're not bringing any money in. And I got depressed. I got figuring, and I thought, here is Jack Martin. He has a little baby, and he's not bringing any money in. And his wife, oh man, she has a crying spell, and this lady is crying, and Jack is telling her to shut up here in this one room, and I just got sick of it. And I guess the next idol I went to was Guy Bannister. He was the next in line for an idol, I guess. That's what it amounted to. To me, I thought Jack was the greatest thing in the world. He had access to the police. He carried district attorney's credentials. Mr. Garrison, Mr. Beckham During the course of your visits to Guy Bannister's office, did you have occasion to do any work with the CIA, either directly or indirectly? I don't know, sir. Did you have occasion to visit the old post office building in connection with the CIA? I've been to that building, but not for no CIA. For what reason did you go to that building? It's a post office. I had a post office box there. You can check back on it. Why did you have a post office box there? Maybe this sounds silly. The reason I had a post office box was I was going to have some letterheads made. Well, I had some letterhead made. I think it was standard printing, and it said T. Edward Beckham, blah, blah, P.O. Box, and then the box number is redacted. Why is the fucking box number redacted? I said business cards, you see. I figured using my home and all looked silly during that time. When did you have the post office box? I really don't know. More selective memory. You will have to check it. I really don't know. Did you ever have occasion to go upstairs above the first floor in the building? In the old post office building where you had your post office box, did you ever have occasion to go upstairs in that building above the first floor? Yes, I did. I can tell you the exact date that was too, October 6, 1961. I went up there. Jack Martin took me up there to get one of these cards, a radio telephone operator's card, Federal Communications. I'm pretty sure it was in that building, but I might be wrong. Why did you go up there? To get this card? Why did you want that card? Why does anybody want the rest of this silly stuff? I don't know. Wait a minute. Hang on a second. So he went to go get a fucking FCC radio telephone operator's card. And he doesn't know why he went to get it. I don't know. Jack had a card and I wanted a card. And if Jack Martin had a badge, I wanted a badge. Let me see that card. Jur, can you use one? Oh, yes. I used to be a disc jockey. Then Jack told me exactly how to fill it out, how to get it. He had one too. If you get that card, you don't have to tell what type of radio you have. No, sir. That is a restricted radio operator, which don't really mean nothing. I really can't to this day tell you what that one's purpose is. Mr. Garrison, reading, restricted radio telephone operator permit. Did you have to take a test for this? No, sir, no test of any kind. I just filled out a card and handed it to the guy, and the guy said, I'll mail you a card, and they mailed me my card. Why did you want to get this card? Because Jack Martin had one. He brought it up to me and said, look, you want some impressive cards. Here's one. We'll go to the post office. Is that why you got this laminated? No, they were falling to pieces. That's the stuff that you put a quarter in the machine and you cut it off. I had that thing for a long time. This is October 1961. Why did you keep the card? I don't know. Just kept it like an old piece of paper. Did you ever have an occasion to go upstairs in that building on any other occasion? No, not that I know about. Have you ever been to Alford Air Force Base? Oh, yes. Do you know Lieutenant Colonel Lowry at Alford Air Force Base? Yes, I've known Colonel Lowry for about a year and a half. You ever heard of him directing the Operations Office of Planning Division of the Strategic Air Command? Have I ever heard of him? He is the director of the Operations Office of the Planning Division of the SAC. I know he changed jobs. What did you think he does? At the time, I knew he flew on what was known as a looking glass. This was a plane, a command post that flew in the air, a command post that is airborne at all times. How did you come to have a relationship with a lieutenant colonel in the Strategic Air Force Command? It's a long story. Oh, I bet it's a fucking short story. I bet it's a real fucking short story. 3-letter short story. It's a long story. Never mind then. Are you aware that Alford Air Force Base is a contact point for the Central Intelligence Agency? No, sir, I didn't. You're not aware of that? No, sir. Let me ask you again. Have you ever in New Orleans done any kind of work directly or indirectly for the Central Intelligence Agency? Maybe indirectly, but not directly. Okay, now let me counsel you in order to be fair to you. Let me remind you there are two governments in this country, the national and state government, and the state government has its own sovereignty, and this is the point I want to get across to you. If anybody in the federal government supposedly told you that you should not tell this grand jury anything less than the whole truth, they are not telling you correctly. In other words, this grand jury has the right to know the whole truth while you're under oath. There are no exceptions. Do you understand that? Yes, I do. Further, the law of perjury, which calls for the penitentiary sentence in Louisiana, that if you commit perjury includes failing to tell this grand jury any information about the federal government, we may choose to ask you. Do you understand that? Yes. Now let's go back to something else for a moment. Here's a picture of Kerry Thornley. No, I don't think I know him. He looks familiar, but I don't think I know him. Did you ever have occasion to meet Loren Hall when he came to Omaha, or Lawrence Howard? No, I saw the picture in the papers. Let me pause right here. So now we have a 1-2 punch of Garrison's understanding of men involved in the assassination. He asks Beckham specifically about Kerry Thornley. He then asks him specifically about Loren Hall. He then asks him specifically about Lawrence Howard. This is amazing, amazing stuff and substantiation for my work, right? Because he knows the deal. And he says, no, I saw the picture in the papers. Then he asks about another person. Sorry, Tony, here's another one for you. Edward Scannell Butler. He goes, how about Edward Scannell Butler? You got a picture of him? Ed Butler was a frequent visitor to Mr. Bannister. You don't recall meeting him? I might have, but I don't recall. I don't know unless I see a picture of him. Can you recall whether or not you ever met Lee Harvey Oswald? I know I never met that guy. You also know you were not in Dallas in 1963. I know I was not in Dallas in 1963. Have you ever been to Montreal and Mexico City? No. Have you ever been in Tulsa? No, not Tulsa. No, sir. Have you ever heard of United Missions, Inc. of Tulsa? I don't know. Now, this deal was something about missions. I don't know which mission. Which mission was that? The deal about missions that Jack got into, it had to do with missions. Was it from Tulsa? No, one was from Kentucky and the other was from Canada, but they had people all over. They had a deal up there, and it states and cites all stuff and different people. Any of the churches that you belong to have anything to do with the Synod of Russia churches outside of Russia? Gosh, no, not that I know of. Which particular group are these churches in? Are they in the same group as Dr. McIntyre's church? Or they in the same group as, say, the Catholic Church, Presbyterian Church, etc.? I don't know what that man you named, the National Council of Churches. Oh, does he belong to the National Council of Churches? Which group of churches is the church that you presently belong to? They are in no group at all. They are an independent body believing in Christianity. Who is the head of this church? One is Reverend Kirby Hensley. He belongs to the Church of Life. How do you spell that? Hensley, Kirby J. Where is he located? 1766 Poland Road in Modesto, California. His phone number is 537-0553. Have you ever met him? No. Have you ever met him? No, I've never met him at all. In addition to this man, who are some of the other top leaders of the church of which you are now? Well, now there are two churches. The other one is, take your choice. Top leaders. Well, if I'm not mistaken, Reverend Hensley's wife is either the secretary or something, and there's another man. Of which church? Universal Life. Then there's another man, starts with a J, Jason or something. He wrote me a letter just when this thing came up, and he said that they will always try to persecute the church or something like that. What's his name? Something with a J, Jason. He's a DVM. What does that mean? He's a doctor of veterinary medicine. Have you met him? No, sir. I got a letter from him just a month or so ago. But you've never met him? No, sir, but he mentioned in his letter something about the Central Intelligence Agency, but I don't know what it was. What did he say about the Central Intelligence Agency? I don't know. He just said I read in the papers out there that you got busted. He said at the end of this letter, love is alive or something like that. You consider that to be particularly relevant to my line of questioning? He said something about the CIA. Let's see. What did he say? I could find the letter. It was, have you ever met anyone in the church besides Dr. Chrisman? No. Are you aware that the Central Intelligence Agency uses churches as covers? I don't know. Are you aware that David Ferry, who was a priest in the Old Orthodox Church, was connected with the CIA? No. That Eugene Bradley of the 20th Century Reformation Church is connected with the CIA? No. You are not aware that the CIA makes use of churches? No. Are you aware of any connection of Mr. Fredley Chrisman with the CIA? I knew he was formerly an intelligence officer or combat officer or something. Perhaps if we can eliminate the or somethings, we can get to the question of whether or not he was with the CIA. I don't think he was. I don't know. How many times have you seen Mr. Chrisman? Oh boy, a lot of times. Have you ever delivered money to him? No. Have you ever delivered money to anybody? No. Did you ever deliver money to anybody in August 1957? Not that I know of. Have you ever carried money for the CIA? No, I have not. Have you ever carried any kind of money to anybody? No, sir, I have not. Have you ever taken a trip to Tacoma? Yes, I've been to Tacoma to see Tacoma and Olympia. They are right near each other. How many times have you been to that area? Oh boy, I don't know, a lot of times. More than once? Oh yes, yes. Give us a guess roughly how many times. 35, 40 times. Have you been to the Tacoma, Olympia, Seattle area 35 or 40 times? Right. You drive back and forth on that highway. It's only about 35 or 40 miles from Olympia, outside the base there. How long did you live in that area? 2 years. Why did you go up there? Oh, I don't know. I'll tell you why I went. You see, you ship out only in so many places, New Orleans, Seattle, or California. So I went to Seattle to ship out, and that's how I got my union card from them. What union is that? The AFL-CIO, the National Maritime Union affiliated with the AFL-CIO. Are you a seaman? I have a staff officer's rating. How long did it take you to acquire a staff officer's rating? I had to take an examination. How many years did you serve as a seaman to work your way up to that? I had 2 years at sea. What 2 years did you spend at sea? On different trips, I shipped through the SIU. What 2 years? I don't know. Approximately what 2 years? I couldn't tell you. I don't know. If possible, what period? Could you tell me what century? 20th? Oh, yes. Could you just give me an idea? I don't know the exact time. I don't want to know the exact time either. Just tell me when you went to sea. I think I worked for the Sealand Transportation Service out of Seattle. What kind of work did you do? I was a galley utility. What other work did you do? I worked as chief cooks. I worked as steward, different jobs. For what other companies? Sealand, I worked for, what's that aluminum company? Kaiser? No, Reynolds. How many years did you work for them? It wasn't years, it was trips. How many trips before you became a staff officer? I can't tell you. Couldn't you give an approximation? 9 or 10 trips, something like that. What kind of work did you do as a staff officer? As a staff officer, you handle signing on and out men on ships. When the ship is in port, if a person gets in jail, you're responsible for the men aboard in that capacity, and you see if you can help them, and you keep all the records of the ship. Okay, so let me pause one more time. So we've got him at the age of 14 or 15 hanging out with Jack Martin, right? We can confirm that he's definitely fucking CIA at some point, recruited probably by Roswell Thompson, and he's working with Guy Bannister in 62, 63. It's all confirmed by him in his dumb fucking mouth, right? And so at some point in this fucking mix, he's got he got 2 years as a fucking seaman, right? So this is utterly fucking ridiculous, okay? This life is ridiculous. And he's a preacher and all this stuff, and a psychologist, and a traveling musician, and a seaman. All between 61, and 68. Whoa. Whoa. What company have you worked for in that capacity? My license, if you will, was just issued to me. Have you ever worked in that capacity? No, I quit sailing after that. I never sailed no more. Did Mr. Chrisman help you get that? No, sir. I helped Dr. Chrisman get his. Why did Dr. Chrisman want to become a staff officer? I just told him, I said, Fred, if you ever want to go on vacation or anything, join the union. You can ship out. Now, Dr. Chrisman was a PhD. Is that right? That's right. And you were telling us that he used to be an intelligence officer. Yes, sir. He was a pilot or something. Something to do... he was a pilot. Yes, he is a pilot. Now, you're telling me that you helped him obtain a license as a staff officer. That's right. For what reason would a PhD who was formerly a pilot want this? Dr. Chrisman was a man who believed in lots of travel. Like I said, he liked education, antiques, stuff like that. So Fred said he wanted to. I said, Fred, he noticed my certificate on the wall. That's just a copy there. And he says, I sure would like to have something like this. And I said, if I can get you the endorsements from certain people and you can pass the examination and the physical stuff with the Coast Guard. And he did. And he received his papers. As far as I know, he received his papers. How many years at sea did Dr. Chrisman have? I can't tell you that. I don't know. Do you know if Dr. Chrisman has any years at sea? I can't even tell you if Dr. Chrisman has ever flown from an airplane. He says he has. I don't know. Are you aware that he has a diplomatic passport? No, I don't know if he does. Have you ever met him in New Orleans? No, I came here with him. He thought it was a beautiful city. What year did you come here with him? I'm sure it was 1966. And he found it to be a beautiful city. Yes, he liked it. Are you aware that Dr. Chrisman was in New Orleans 11 times in 1964? No, he said to me, he never even... I said, Fred, let's go down to New Orleans. He said, I'd like to see it. And he asked me all types of questions about it. I said, it's beautiful. And he asked me different things about the city. Are you aware that Dr. Christman was here 17 times in 1966? No. Are you aware that Dr. Christman knows Clay Shaw? No. Are you aware the first man Clay Shaw called after his arrest was Dr. Christman? No. Are you aware of the connection between Dr. Christman and the Central Intelligence Agency? No. How many times in your life have you seen Dr. Christman? Oh boy, maybe 100 times. Isn't it a fact that Dr. Christman is one of the first people you called after you were subpoenaed here? Yes. That's a coincidence because that's the first person Clay Shaw called after he was charged. No, it isn't. I called him and I said, Fred, I'm going to tell you something. You might get mad at me, but let me tell you something. The district attorney has subpoenaed me. And that's when he said, because I got his mother first. He wasn't even at home. I just wanted to tell him that I told because the guy asked me and I never been to Dallas in 63. And I said, no, I was in Dallas in 65 with Dr. Fred Lee Christman. I never even gave the man's home address. You were in Dallas. What year with Dr. Christman? 1965. Are you sure? I'm positive. Okay, so you pause right now. You remember he said he was in 1966 earlier. I'm positive. You can check the hotel. I'm sure it was 65. Not any other year? No, sir. How about 1966? 1966, yes, that's what I mean. Was it 66? Yes, so within a matter of 10 seconds, he said it was 65, he's sure, and now it's 66, and he's sure. So fuck this guy. Yes, we were at that place, the Executive Motor Lodge or something like that. Why did you go there? See, to give you an idea, I told Fred, I said, look, we can make more money on shows than we can sitting behind this desk and hoping one will come in and say, okay, you know, Dr. Christman had some connections with a guy by the name of Roslyn, which was the former governor of the state of Washington, another guy by the name of Julio Grassi or something like that. Martin Grassi? No, Julio J. Grassi. Have you ever heard of Martin Grassi? No. From the Seattle area? No. This was Julio J. Grassi. What does he do? I really don't know. He's got money. He owns a car company and he has fingers and everything. Well, anyway, what did you all go there for? Well, Dr. Christman had these connections with these people, and I said, man, we were going to give some political campaigns and things to help advertise stuff. And I said, Fred, we can take a road show. We can take a road show out on the road. I did have it before. I said I worked in schools and things, and I said tonight we can play symphony programs with a band and all, and we can play clubs or skating rinks or bowling alleys or theaters. And he said, you think it will go? And I said, I know it will go. Let's try it. Well, he had some records of mine, and we went out, and he said, I will take a look at it and see what we can do, and that's exactly what he did. How much did all you make on that project? Not one penny. Did you all ever make money on that project? Oh, yes. What project? Let me think now, because we made money on some stuff. I know what he did. There was a lady that had, this was more in his line. She had an employment agency there. She had cancer of the nose, and Fred got men. She put an order for executives, and Fred fulfilled it, and we got a check for, I don't know, close to a couple $100. What do you mean? What do you mean fulfilled? Got men for her. She ran an agency. In other words, if this company wanted an executive, they will go and get these executives from somewhere, steal them or something. I don't know. What town were you working from? Olympia. Were you working with Mr. Christman? Yes. What was your capacity? Were you a partner? I was supposed to have been, yes. He would show up at the office occasionally. When he didn't show up, you ran the operation. Yes, he would be out of town. Did he do much traveling? Oh, yes. What places did he travel to? I don't know. Did he leave the country? I don't know. I can't answer that because I don't know. As a matter of fact, he travels almost continuously, doesn't he? Oh, yes, he does a lot of traveling. And isn't it a fact that, he travels in behalf of the Central Intelligence Agency? No, that's not a fact, and I don't know. Why does he travel a lot? Well, if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong, he might have been boasting, but he said that maybe he did not travel a lot. No, he did travel a lot. He was always gone. Why should he lie, Where was he traveling? He said something about he worked for some political party. What political party? I think it was the Republicans or Democrats. I think it was Republicans. One or the other? Yes. How long has he been traveling for them? Oh, I don't know. Is he independently wealthy? I don't know. Does he have some money? I never seen him want for anything. Where do you think he got all the money to do all this traveling? Like I said, now this is what he told me. He makes trips for some political party, Republican or Democrat. Do they pay him to make trips? Oh, yes. Do they pay him just to travel around, or does he do something for them? I don't know what he does. You're his partner and you don't know what he does? I knew what he did in the business with me, but I didn't know what he did out there. How did you get to be in business with him if you don't know what he does? I will show you. No. Is it a short answer or is it involved? It's short. There was an ad in a magazine called Join the Parapsychology Association, right, for membership forms and all. At the time I was living in Olympia. So I wrote this guy a letter because I noticed he was in Tacoma, and I noticed that Tacoma was pretty close. So I wrote him and said I have an association, which I did. Which year was this? 3 or 4 years ago. That was 64? Something like that. Did you not know Dr. Chrisman in 63? No, I didn't know him in 63. I'm sure I didn't know him in 63. Okay, go ahead. So Dr. Chrisman, one day, he stopped up at the place and he said, how do you do? I am F. Lee Chrisman. And he handed me a business card. I said, how do you do? And he says, come in. And he talked to me. And he said, well, you're a pretty interesting guy, he said. And one thing led to another. He said he found you interesting. Yes, he said you're a pretty interesting guy because I had a bunch of stuff, which what my belief was, osteopathy, orthology, and all that stuff, because I did a lot of study on it. And he said to me, I'll tell you what, I have a parapsychology association. What do you think about it? So I said I have to have some study in that field. So we got to talking, and one thing led to another. He said, Tom, I went to college, and he said, we ought to open up an office here. Did you all do that? I said, well, that's fine, but where are we going to get the money? Did you open an office? Yes. How much money did you make? I don't know. I can't tell you. Who ran the business? Who kept the papers and stuff? Who ran the business? Who made the decisions? Well, there were really, you don't understand the business we opened up. Did money come in? Yes, one check. Just one check? Yes, that's all. How long did you have this business? Oh, the business didn't last long, 6, 7, 8 months, and you only had one check. That's right. And how much was it? It was either $125 or $200 or something. When the news came out that you were subpoenaed by the grand jury, you announced to the press that you were in business with Mr. F. Lee Chrisman. You were referring to this $100 that you made together. Oh, you see, Fred put money in this, whatchamacallit, in the bank. He put money in the bank? Yes, he kept it going. How much money did he put in the bank? I don't know. Did you draw money from it? No, I shipped out between times. You see, Alaska is not very far from Seattle. You can get on a boat and in 11 days be there and back. Let's come back from Alaska for a moment into the business. Did the business make money? No, the business didn't make money. Why did you stay in business with him? See, he was trying to hold off for a political campaign. He said thousands of dollars could be made in this political campaign. How long were you in business with Mr. Chrisman? Oh, I was in business a long time. How long would you say it was? Oh, I don't know. Give us an approximation. Were you in business in 1963? I didn't know him in 1963. About 1964? I don't think I knew him then. Let me think now. Whenever I moved to whatchamacallit, I could check with with where I lived. Were you in business with him in 1965? No, but I contacted him. Were you in business with him in 1960? Yes, I was in business with him in 1965 and 1966. I was in business with him. 65 and 66. Right. So, okay, I hope that you can tell that this guy's testimony is like complete bullshit, and that his whole life story is bullshit, and that he's a low-level CIA fucking scrub brought into the CIA by Roswell Thompson and probably introduced to Fred Lee Chrisman by Jack Martin, and then he went off to be Fred Lee Chrisman's guy, right? So we can kind of see the natural progression of Beckham and his CIA handlers. But I'm getting tired. That's going to do it for today. If you haven't bought the book, please go buy the book. It's on Amazon, and it's fucking awesome. So go get it. You can also buy my notes and all that good stuff. Go to CoreyHughes.org, and you can see all the stuff available. And that's going to do it. We'll be back tomorrow for part 3 of the Thomas Beckham Clayshaw grand jury testimony. Thanks.